Homefront: The Revolution. Woo! That's a video game that's coming out that a lot of people actually.
Wait, what'd you say? What was that second part?
Homefront:
It's coming out.
It's a video game that's coming out.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I also did not believe this game was real.
Game has had some tough times.
Yeah.
This series has had some tough times. Let's do a quick history lesson, shall we?
Yeah.
Back in the Wayback Machine.
Millions of dollars in marketing were spent.
Homefront was a game made by Chaos Studios, which was a studio full of wonderful people in New York City, in Manhattan, where there really aren't any studios. Presumably because the city's so friggin' expensive, but there are lots of studios here.
Doesn't stop this hellhole.
Which makes no sense. But anyway, because I visited Chaos actually twice. Their first game, Frontlines: Fuel of War, which was a super underrated 360 game.
Super ambitious.
The single player was okay, but the multiplayer was phenomenal.
You may notice a theme in a few minutes.
The reason is because Chaos got their start as they were a mod team that made the very, very popular Desert Combat mod for Battlefield 1942. So anyway, they ended up going pro effectively. They got a deal with THQ to make Homefront, which I reviewed for OXM.
I'm so sorry.
It was a game.
I finished the campaign in one sitting because it was 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It also felt
It
like
made
30.
No,
I did not like that campaign at all.
So you start in Colorado, and in 3 hours, you're in San Francisco. That's literally impossible. Yeah. you can't even do that because you're walking for most of it until there's a you basically
you take a
helicopter to okay, we're in San Francisco.
You go over a mountain and you're in the bay.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good.
It was the campaign was just it had the seeds of something good, but it didn't cash it in, except when you got to the multiplayer mode. And like Frontlines: Fuel of War, it had this incredible lot of vehicles and drones and stuff that kind of became popular after. They were sort of a little ahead of the curve on that. Yeah, the multiplayer for Homefront was great, but Mitch, you're referencing the balloon incident.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that one.
It was Nina's 99 balloons, all into the
straight into the San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, they released a bunch of balloons as a PR stunt during GDC. I want to say when everyone was in the city of San Francisco, and the
99.
I think there was just it was a very windy day, and all the balloons just immediately went into the water, and all of a sudden there was all these balloons in the San Francisco Bay, and everyone's like, "Well, that's
Coast Guard was real mad.
That's terrible for every living thing in the water."
Yeah, if you're gonna put balloons in a body of water, San Francisco is the last place you want to do that because they're going to get on your ass.
We take our sea lions very seriously.
Welcome to Hippie Town. Get your balloons out of the water.
Yeah. Hey, you got to clean that up.
Yeah, that was bad. But then, so originally Homefront 2, you played.
No, yes, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
But so the next part of the story with Homefront is the game sold okay.
It actually
did pretty well. Yeah. But Chaos was closed down, presumably because of the expense of running the studio. That was also as THQ was starting to lose money in a bad way. They opened a new studio called THQ in Montreal. I think it was just THQ Montreal.
Yep.
And they invited some Chaos people to go there, but it was also, new developers who'd probably work for cheaper.
That was also the studio headed by Patrice Désilets from Assassin's Creed.
Interesting. I was not aware of that.
Was that he was working on
1666?
So you have Chaos closes down. You have the Homefront 2 gets started in Montreal. Then THQ burns to the ground. Smoldering flames, just the wreckage.
It's a polite way to put it, to be honest.
Everything goes up for auction to the highest bidder.
Yeah. South Park, Evolve.
And Crytek, the developer, buys Homefront outright. Says, this is ours now. They start developing. I still got this right.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
missing any. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I'm remembering
You're on
this.
the right track.
Such a weird story. So they're making it with, and they assign it to Crytek UK,
Which was Free Radical before that?
which was basically, which was Free Radical, Time Splitters people. So you've got nobody
Also the
from
Haze
Chaos, totally new people, but good people.
Yeah.
People with a good pedigree. Then Crytek decides to stop paying its employees at one point because they have run into some financial trouble. And Deep Silver comes in. They were going to publish the game, so they come in and go, all right, well, we'll save this project, but we're going to take advantage of you in your vulnerable state, and we'll keep this going, but we own it now. So they took what I understand is mostly the same people and opened another new studio called Dam Buster. So it's still mostly those Free Radical people. And they are now working on the game, and it appears to now finally be coming out because it's been dated for May 17th.
Yeah.
What a weird history.
That's why I was amazed when you said it was coming out.
no,
I
what a
saw this
development
story
hell.
when we walked into the room, and I was like, oh, wow.
So
they did it.
Both of us saw the game. You saw it at Judges Week 2014?
Correct. It was revealed at Judges Week, E3 Judges Week, which happens in May 2014. I played it.
Yeah.
Which
You played something.
They told me not to say I played it back then, but F it.
F the police.
they don't. Those people are gone now.
Do something about
It doesn't
Please don't
matter
do anything
anyway.
about it.
Yeah, I played it was a vertical slice that they showed and let us play. It was on PC. It ran like crap, but the game
As early games often do.
you don't hold that against
No,
it.
totally.
What I remember about that game was not only liking the idea of sort of an open world, you could sort of take missions here throughout Philadelphia. The engine, the Cry engine, was stunning in that. Even though it was not running well, the rain effects in particular were both outside, they were incredible, and then like up against the window, it just looked. That was my weird major takeaway from it. Was this? It just looked incredible.
I'll be really curious to see how it stands up to your standards now.
Yeah, how it's turned out in the
it's
end.
a visual. It's
Both in terms of how it has changed and
you
how
saw it
your
at Gamescom?
No, I played it
expectations
at
have changed.
PAX. So I played it in September, and definitely it wasn't. I mean, it was visually fine. I think whatever
Did you play on a console or a PC?
PC. I actually
Okay.
did play PC.
Yeah.
Whatever you saw, I don't think is quite what that game was. I think.
And they told me it was not, and I actually specified this in my preview. You can go back and look that the vertical slice that I played and wrote about, they specifically said isn't in the game.
Right.
It was a what a vertical slice is. It's a piece you build up to say as a proof of concept. Say here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So you played the real thing.
Yeah, I played the real thing, and I had a ton of interesting ideas. It still keeps that sort of, it's an open world-ish Philadelphia, and you have a squad, and you're going around like the town has different factions are in in control of different parts of the town, and you are accepting missions.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like Freedom Fighters, like a next-gen Freedom Fighters.
Totally Freedom Fighters.
Love
And
that
you're
game.
Oh, that's
crafting
good news
You're
right
crafting
there.
weapons in like really weird ways. So there's
IO
like,
Interactive,
Yeah.
the Hitman people,
Yeah.
by the way.
Oh, I like Freedom Fighters a
fun
lot.
fact.
Yeah.
So good.
But there's a lot of creativity
Also,
in
fun
creating
fact:
weapons.
that game ran on 720p on the original Xbox.
Jeez. That was a really good game.
I don't know why I remember that, but go ahead.
Trivia. Write it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Like I played a single mission, and 3 people I know who played that same mission did it in completely different ways.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of cool future tech, and I think the game's interesting. And I think that May window is good for it.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. And the one other thing I wanted to add is it's still got some of that chaos DNA in it because there's drone stuff that you can
definitely
drive. Like you can drive the little RC cars and
RC cars
for reconnaissance and strap bombs to them and stuff.
Totally. Yeah, you can like target enemies and everything, and there are drones that will chase you and everything. So.
I vaguely remember in Homefront, and I might be completely misremembering, but I'm pretty sure in the multiplayer there were like tanks and APCs. Whether or not they were pilotable, you could they were there.
I'm trying to remember now.
There are vehicles in the game.
Okay, so that's where I'm going. It's like, what is the vehicle factor here?
I got on a motorcycle and was like running away from all these tanks and stuff.
Awesome.
And I
Because
imagine
that was the
you
big
can
thing
get
with
into the
Chaos.
APCs.
Like
Yeah.
the front lines was all about like, hey,
Vehicles
let's all
and-
get in a chopper and
Yeah.
go over there,
Yeah.
and like a guy in a jet or whatever shoots us down.
Yeah, it was cool.
I don't even know if you can find it anymore. Let alone, I guess there wouldn't even be anybody online, so
on
it's
PC,
kind of moot. But
maybe try that.
Yeah, Homefront 1's multiplayer, super good, and I'll bet it holds up.
Yeah, totally.
I really do. So yeah, I agree. May is a perfect time. Get that May window. There's nothing else that's
Mirror's
really.
Edge. Yeah, is that
Mirror's Edge is May.
These
Is
are
it
very
now?
different though.
Yeah.
Is it though?
And you can play through Mirror's Edge pretty quickly.
Yeah, and this will be after stuff like Uncharted and Quantum Break and Dark Souls.
The
comes
thing
out.
about this game, though, with Homefront, we actually don't know if it has multiplayer, adversarial. We know it has a cooperative thing going on.
Good question.
But they haven't said, I don't think, if there is
Yeah, no one's said
proper
anything to me.
multiplayer. I mean, I'm okay if there isn't because,
If the single player campaign's good enough,
right,
yeah, something
But-
has to be good.
I'm still, I liked what I saw 2 years ago. I want this to be good.
Yeah,
and it does seem like it's just different enough.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
from the usual fare.
And we don't. There's like no traditional FPSs coming out this first half. There's a ton. I mean, Far Cry, but there's like a ton,
Yeah.
there's a ton of games coming out in the first half of the year, but none of them are really shooters.
You know what?
Hallelujah.
This is like the Wolfenstein window, like the cool
Yeah.
single player first person shooter.
Totally.
That's finds a
good
good window of time to release in, and then maybe it'll do
Yeah,
as well.
I feel like
as,
this could be like sort of like Wolfenstein, or like, I mean, Dying Light was January, but one of
Yeah.
those like sort of come out of left field and
Yeah.
everyone plays it and it sells well and everyone's like, oh, this is actually cooler than I thought.
They gotta play Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein.
Woof.
I wonder how much this game needs to sell, because you got to figure.
In order to recoup all this?
Seriously.
Most of the money spent developing the game wasn't Deep Silver, right? Like
Yeah.
it was all that money is probably just lost to
Yeah, it was Chaos,
Crytek and THQ.
Yeah.
I'd be curious how much of the game that exists now is the game that was, though. Like the game that was in development before Deep Silver acquired it and maybe looked at it and said, no, start over or change this.
Yeah.
From
seriously.
what I have seen, it seems largely similar to the slice I saw 2
I mean,
years
at the very
ago.
least, it's always been about Philadelphia.
Right. And an open world sort of freedom mission based thing. Oh, and the other thing I didn't mention, there's a beta for the co-op multiplayer happening on Xbox One next month. So we'll have a real good idea of how this game plays very soon. I think if you go on the Homefront website, you can sign up for I don't know if you're guaranteed access or not, but take a look there if you are curious.